Hello and welcome to Siobhan Talks Periods. My name is Siobhan Carroll. I'm a naturopath and a herbalist, and I'm really passionate about periods. And this week I've got a lot of questions from people asking, why is my PMS worse in the heat wave? So today I'm going to be talking about why the heat, especially when we're not used to it, can make PMS feel worse. So for starters, the hot weather can definitely make us all, regardless of our periods, whether we get them or not, it can make us all more hot-headed, especially when we're not used to the heat. For me as an Irish person, definitely, I think probably the majority of people who live in the UK and Ireland, we really crave this heat, and then when it comes, we kind of suffer a bit because our bodies just aren't used to it. So there is that, if you're prone to the sort of irritability and anger and frustration and symptoms like that, emotional symptoms that arise in those premenstrual days, that the hot weather can definitely exacerbate those sort of PMS symptoms. The second thing that can be occur for some women is a sudden kind of change in temperature, whether it's a heat wave out of nowhere or kind of going on holiday somewhere hot any time of the year. When we've got that quick change in heat, that can cause our bodies to kind of take a little bit of time to regulate our heat in our bodies. So that inability to regulate temperature is often linked with longer periods. It can be linked with some more pain, and we see it in the other way around as well with menopause when the hormone levels are fluctuating. The temperature balance can go off kilter, and so it seems that for some women it can happen in the other way around, that when the temperature goes off kilter, then the hormone levels are affected. However, I think the biggest thing that is affecting PMS and probably period pain as well during very kind of hot weather is stress. So our bodies aren't used to this kind of heat, unless this is, if we live in the UK and Ireland, our bodies aren't used to this kind of intense heat. And that can put a stress on our body. So, there's obviously the sort of emotional stresses of being in the hot weather when we're not used to it, maybe getting sunburnt and worrying about that, or whatever other stresses there might be. But the physical stress on our body as well is big when it's very hot. And the stress, when we're stressed, our body produces more of a hormone called cortisol, which you've probably heard of. And cortisol then puts our estrogen and progesterone levels off balance a little bit. So what it actually does is an increase in cortisol will decrease our progesterone levels. So progesterone is our calming hormone that kind of comes in the second half of our cycle after we've ovulated. And it's when we have very low levels of progesterone, which is caused by the increase in cortisol, our estrogen levels are higher, and that's what leads to what's called estrogen dominance, or an estrogen excess in relation to the progesterone levels. And that really contributes to all the symptoms of PMS, anger, irritability that we talked about already, but also bloating and breast pain and tenderness and headaches and all the different things that crop up for women. In addition to stress, dehydration is a big factor. Dehydration is also going to put another stress on our body, but being dehydrated is going to significantly worsen PMS symptoms as well as period pain. Dehydration is really, really common in the heat because we are not used to drinking so much, and we wait till we're thirsty, and then it's actually a rehydration process. So trying to catch up on your dehydration, trying to catch up on your hydration after you've already become dehydrated is kind of like running uphill, which you definitely want to avoid in this heat. So instead, make sure you're drinking a lot of water in advance. A formula that I share a lot to know how much water to drink is multiplying your body weight in kg multiplied by 0.033, and that's going to help you figure out how much water you need to drink on a daily basis. If you drink coffee or alcohol, you need to add an extra glass of water on top of that amount. And if it's hot, especially if you're sweating, then you also need to add more water again. Again, it depends on yourself. A good way to check is to have a look in the toilet after you do a wee. If your urine is in any way dark or not sort of a just nice pale yellow colour, then it's a sign that you really need to drink a bit more. Dehydration can also worsen other PMS symptoms then, and so can the heat. So dehydration can also affect things, make your headaches worse, of course, and it can also make bloating worse. But even if you're staying hydrated, the heat can worsen those symptoms. So headaches you can get heat in the headaches for different reasons than you get heat when you're dehydrated. I think the blood vessels actually contract when you're dehydrated, but they expand when you're in really hot weather. So the kind of that kind of expansion and contraction of the blood vessels can cause you to have headaches. And it also can contribute, the heat can contribute to bloating. And when you're bloated, sometimes people think when they're bloated that they don't need to drink more water, and that drinking any more water would make them more bloated. But actually, drinking more water is going to help with the bloating, even though you feel puffy and full. Whether it's bloating in your belly, or maybe like swelling and tenderness in your breasts, or maybe swelling in your ankles, all of these things are actually helped by drinking more water. So get that water into you. The last thing I want to talk about is sleep. Sleep is so important for our overall health and healing, but particularly if we've chronically underslept, if that's a word, if we're not getting kind of 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and some of us even need more than that every night, then our bodies are kind of playing catch-up mode, and they're not getting to do the healing that they need. So that can contribute to symptoms of PMS, along with a whole range of other things. But of course, as we know, as we probably experienced recently, it's really hard for us to sleep in the really, really hot weather when we're not used to it. That's another cause that can make that PMS worse, is if we're not getting enough sleep. So good things to do are just to try and stay as cool as possible at night. Keep your windows open. Drink lots of water to avoid the dehydration, to minimize headaches and bloating, and stay cool when you can. Another good thing to do is to eat lots of fruit that is filled, and vegetables that's filled with water. So things like cucumbers and watermelons, and other types of melons and fruits. They're got a high content of water in them as well, so that's going to help keep us cool. And lastly, if you do suffer with symptoms of PMS on a regular basis, and they're just getting worse in the heat, and you haven't tried it yet, definitely try our wonderful herb Agnus castus. Agnus castus is just one of my favourite herbs for women. It's brilliant at balancing all sorts of different symptoms related to PMS. It helps our hormones to communicate better together, and helps to bring down that excess of estrogen and increase our progesterone levels. So it helps to kind of balance everything out and get us feeling more ourselves for more of a month. So if you have any questions, as always, please let me know. You can send me an email or comment here on the videos or on the blogs, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if there's any other topics you'd like me to cover in future, please let me know. I'm wishing you all lots of fun in the sun, stay hydrated, and have a great time.